I love Hunter x Hunter. I love its human feeling characters, I love its world, I love its fights, and the many ways in which it differentiated itself from anything I'd ever watched. It was one of the first shows I'd ever watched when I found myself delving further into anime. At the time, I was a 13-year-old school kid who had his whole life taken over by his newfound interest in Japanese storytelling. So discovering Hunter x Hunter in the midst of enjoying my new favourite form of media changed my life. I declared Hunter x Hunter to be my favourite, and it was so for years. I looked to Togashi as my new favourite storyteller, someone that I could aspire to be like. So it'd probably come as a surprise that it took me 7 long years to sit down and decide, hey, let me watch you. The show made me feel like I was 13 again watching Hunter x Hunter for the first time, though this time it was different. Like I was supposed to be a bit older watching this. The characters, mainly Yusuke, swears like there's no tomorrow.
I'd like you to remove your head from your ass!
They feel, act, and sound like real people, especially if you watch the dub, which I personally recommend if English is your first language. A couple of episodes in, I came to the same realization I did 7 years ago. Togashi is the fucking GOAT. You know, I'm a fan of shonen. I fuck with Dragon Ball and Naruto, but Togashi never seems to fall into the same conventions a lot of other classic stories of this genre do. It's like the guy's allergic to it or something. This guy's just, I can't say built differently. Togashi is composed obscurely. This is evident as early as the first episode where the main character fucking dies. And for you dumbasses typing up a storm in the comments like,
hey, how could you ever expect anyone to check out a show you recommend if you spoiled the whole plot in the video?
it is literally the first page of the manga. Nigga chill. The opening really does highlight the first time I realized, hey, I'll fuck with this Yusuke nigga. He dies and he realizes, hey wait, I'm not too fussed about this whole coming back to life thing. He's a guy who's lived a pretty bad life. He has a neglectful mum and no real prospects of the future. He doesn't turn up to school and isn't exactly the most pleasant to those who care about him. So how the fuck does Togashi make me like a guy like that? Well, I'm not exactly sure. In the earlier episodes, maybe I just found his outlook relatable. He's a cool guy who kinda just takes life as it is and does what he wants. He isn't like other protagonists. He doesn't have some big goal that he's working towards, he's kinda just living. Till he isn't. After his death, he's given a second chance at life by becoming a spirit detective. Defender of Earth from demons or ghosts or some shit. The whole spirit detective thing doesn't last long before you're pulled into the interesting conflicts between the spirit realm and the demon world. Great names, Togashi. And I think my enjoyment of this character really highlighted one of Togashi's greatest strengths. His He doesn't write the main cast like a bunch of plot devices. He doesn't write the main cast like a bunch of plot devices or flawless cool guys. He writes people. Yusuke, Kurama, Hiei, Kuwabara, and the rest of the main cast all feel like people that would keep doing their thing even if I wasn't watching them. Even smaller characters like Kuwabara's older sister get enough attention to define her as more than just Kuwabara's older sister, but Shizuru, a calm, collected badass and a funny member of the cast without whom the story wouldn't feel the same.
Oh God, what am I supposed to do with this?
How about pretend for a second that you're a man?
I also think one of the biggest draws of the series are its antagonists. It starts off with more regular villain of the week kind of fellas, but as the story develops, we are introduced to some of the greatest characters to have ever appeared within anime or manga, in my opinion. I really fuck with Sensui despite every feeling that I shouldn't, and I love Toguro. Somebody get that nigga some orange juice.
If you don't mind, I will take a glass of orange juice over ice.
It'd be impossible for me to make it for a section speaking on Yu Hakusho's characters without speaking on Genkai, the old psychic martial arts master who is really fucking good at video games. She speaks with a youthful vibe and is my favorite representation of growing old within media. Her outlook on her own human mortality impacts my thoughts at the ancient age of 21 years old. I really love this little old lady. Her character is brilliant, unforgettable, and impactful beyond the span of the show. The more we see of her, the more of her tough exterior is unraveled, leading us down a trail of her complicated past, all coming to light in the legendary This is one of those arcs where if you spend any amount of time in any sort of anime manga space, you've heard of it. A lot. It's often held as the greatest tournament arc in all of anime, and honestly after finishing it, it feels impossible to argue against those lofty claims. Togashi seemed to have found his footing by this arc of the story, with some of the most refreshing fights and character writing I'd ever experienced, culminating in one of the most iconic and impactful fights I have ever seen. I won't go into too much detail for this arc, as I think his experience is one better than I can really articulate, and trying to do so would only be selling its true greatness short. But to give you a taster, it is one of my favourite moments.
How is this nigga alive?
My eye, nigga, watch this. Dragon of the Darkness Flame.
No way, he's gonna use the Dragon of the Darkness Flame technique. Yes, mate, the PP Popaloopa Longatron.
And he does the attack. You get what I'm talking about? I think the art of the show is fucking brilliant. Damn, I say brilliant a lot. But by now, I'm sure from the clips playing on screen and the music playing in the background, you've noticed that this show reeks with that 90s anime feel. And you know what I mean when I say 90s anime feel. The character designs, the animation, and the color scheme. They're all just so 90s and never fail to make me feel nostalgic for a time I wasn't even alive to experience. The characters dress in the hardest fits that couldn't come from anywhere but the 90s, and their constant drip still holds up today. When the characters aren't fighting, they're kind of just chilling together as a group, going to catch a movie. They're chilling in a hotel room playing cards. Maybe you're thinking that doesn't sound very fun or thrilling, and hey, maybe you watch it and actually think that, you'd be wrong. But by the time we reach those points in the show, you will already love the characters, and if you're anything like me, you just love watching them do anything together. The animation is some of the best I've seen at times. It morphs characters' faces and warps the art style for enhanced expressions and captivating set pieces. Look at this scene from Kanji Nishida and Masayuki Yoshihara. I definitely fucked up those names. The art and animation definitely is a huge part of the show's appeal. It really sells the whole unquantifiable vibe aspect of the story, you know, the vibes. This shit is fucking dope and timeless, and I hope my kids would enjoy this show. Those same vibes and that timelessness is even more prominent in the... Honestly, I think everything about this whole anime really just makes me feel nostalgic for a time before I was born. I love the music in the show, all the little tracks and themes are top notch and a joy to hear, and there are certainly a few standouts in the soundtrack. The most obvious is the opening theme. I think this is probably one of my favourite openings ever, and maybe it's just recency bias, it's definitely not, but I really can't overstate how fucking good this opening is. The beat is great, the singing is just beautiful. If you aren't really interested in the show after my best attempts to persuade you, then at least check out the opening, link in the description. Another favourite is the romantic song or theme or whatever. Honestly, self-explanatory, that shit is hard, go listen to it. Yu Hakusho, like all pieces of media, is flawed, and it'd feel wrong trying to sell you a show without honestly discussing its flaws. Firstly, the pacing is arse, dog shit, but Unfortunately, despite all the other ways in which it differentiates itself from other anime of its era, it falls to the same pacing issues common in a lot of anime from this time. And if that's a big turn off for you, maybe you don't have as much time as you did when you was a teenager, it would be a good idea to read the manga. Secondly, though it wasn't the case for me, I heard from others that they found the first few episodes to be a slog to get through, which I can understand as it feels a little slice of life-ish, following Yusuke, following his friends. While I would argue that it is this time that makes us so bonded to the characters, I will admit that it could have been executed better. From the pacing to the art, it really is the lowest point of Yu Hakusho, other than the ending of the show isn't great. I was cool with it, but I know a lot of people weren't, and it would be wrong if I didn't mention it. Sadly, its abrupt ending was caused by similar health issues that still plague Togashi and his work till this day. I think a big part of my enjoyment of the show is this relationship to Hunter x Hunter. It's hard to miss these similarities between the two casts, the two exam portions of the story, and also that signature unorthodox Togashi approach to the battle manga. I really love Yu Hakusho and Hunter x Hunter, both for special stories that I'll be thinking about for the rest of my life. Thank you, Togashi. And thank you for watching, nigga!